Hey everybody, welcome to this first lesson in using Sketchup for schools to develop 3D models. Now what I love about Sketchup is it is a complicated system, and I know that sounds weird, but you get a lot of tools with it, and if you're not familiar with those tools, if you have questions about a tool, or if you forget what a tool does, then you can always go back to my other playlist, Sketchup for Schools Tools. It has a really fun name, and I'll link it in the description below. And it's basically 60 to 90-second videos explaining what a tool does and demoing how it's used. You can always do the exact same thing on your SketchUp because it's a digital play space. You can create, you can mess up stuff, whatever. It's a great way to learn, and all you have to do is start a new template and everything's gone, or just delete everything, Super fantastic that way. Anyways, this first video lesson, we are going to be creating a box with specific dimensions. Now I know you're saying, oh my goodness, making a box, how hard can that be? Well, what if I told you we're going to be making a hollow box? And in that hollow box, it would need to actually be able to fit a real world object. And to be able to fit real world objects, we need to know the specific size of those objects, right? Or we need to be able to put in a size on SketchUp that would be representative of the real world size. The reason that we have to focus on this is because when we start to import all of this stuff into Google or into Microsoft HoloLens, it will create the actual size of the box, taking our digital content and displaying it in the real world for us, which is honestly, it's kind of mind-blowing the first time. So that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Now before we mess with SketchUp here, I need to go over this important lesson. You need to know this. When I am talking about feet and inches, and you're supposed to type that if you're following along, feet is always representative of a single apostrophe mark in SketchUp. Okay? Inches is a quotation mark. Do not confuse those, because you'll get some weirdly shaped objects. And more importantly, do not write something like 7 FT for feet, or 7 and spell out feet. It is 7 apostrophe. And same with inches. 6 inches. 6 apostrophe. So when I say you need to make one side 7 feet 6 inches, that's 7 apostrophe space 6 quotation mark. Hopefully that makes sense. I want to go over it because in the 8 years I've been teaching SketchUp to middle school, this has been the hardest barrier for whatever reason for people to understand how to use this. All right, now that being said, let's get started. Now we can see here that we have a person right here. This person is supposed to be representative of scale. He is about, I'm assuming I don't know, got a fancy jacket on, that's for sure. We can zoom in on that. If you are not using a mouse for SketchUp, I would encourage you to utilize a mouse. Right now I'm currently stuck on my touchpad because I don't have one, so things are going to run a little slower, but just be patient with me. So he's about 6 feet. So if I were to make a box here, and I made it this large, and I were to raise it up here, well, on our screen, that only looks like maybe like a 4-inch box by 3-inch box, but in the digital world, this is going to be representative of 5 feet. I think that's about 5 feet there, or I lifted it 5 feet up. Either way, super tall, so we're not even thinking about that. Next, let's just get rid of this so we understand. What you're going to need to do is take your select tool. Okay, so we've clicked on select tool. We're going to highlight this guy, and we're going to delete him. He might have a Superfly jacket that I want to make one day, but I don't want him anywhere on my screen right now. So let's just go ahead and delete him out of existence in this virtual plane. Next, we're going to select our box tool. Our box tool is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down on our toolbar on the left-hand side. So we click that, and you can see if we click it, we do get other options here. So we could make circles, polygons, text. Right now we just want to be on our rectangle here. What we're going to do is we're going to drag a shape by clicking our middle point here, which is called our origin. We're going to move that on the X and Y axes, and of course our vertical is going to be our Z axis. Now you're going to notice that I dragged out a random size. If we look over here in this little dimensions, it's going to tell us that that is a 9-foot, 10 and 13/16 inch box by 12 foot 5 inches. Now I need something more specific. I'm actually looking at developing a box for something a lot smaller. Let's say I'm going to be developing it for a necklace. So in this case, what I'm going to do, without clicking anything else on our screen, right? We've just dragged that out. We've made our random box size. I want to make a 5-inch. So I do 5 quotation mark, comma, because we're going to create our next length out. So it's going to be a 5-inch by 5-inch box. So 5 quotation mark, comma, 5 quotation mark. And then I hit enter and it resizes it. Now I know what you're saying. Oh my gosh, Mr. Van, that looks super, super, super duper small. Well, yeah, it looks small, but in reality, that's a 5-inch by 5-inch box in this digital plane. And the way that we can zoom that back in, we can either do the manual zoom, right, by like trying to zoom in on it. If you have a mouse, you can use your scroll wheel to zoom in on it. Or if you don't, you can click your last option here. This is technically your rotate around option. So you're going to click that, then you're going to click your zoom. And when you click your zoom, you can either drag it up like that, or my personal favorite is I do the zoom window, and you just create a window where you want to look at, zoom it in. You can continue to zoom it in like that, just by selecting the tool again, zoom in. So that is a 5-inch by 5-inch square. Now this is a 2D square, so technically this doesn't exist in our real world. You could think of it as like a piece of paper. However, a piece of paper is technically a 3-dimensional object, right? It has an X, Y, and Z axis. This currently only has an X and a Y axis. So when we're looking at that, let's move it like this. We could actually see that if we get down, what would be looking at it straight on, we would only see a single straight line. I know it's hard to grasp, but we're in a 3-dimensional plane, and we need to understand that in everything that we work with. So we want to give it a little bit of lift here. So to do that, we're going to use our push-pull tool. So right underneath our rectangle tool, we're just going to drag it up, and we're going to set it to 1/4 inches and hit enter. So we're going to make it a 1/4 inch high. Except for my number keypad wasn't correct. 1/4. If things aren't working, like they're not for me right now, you can always use Control Z to undo. Control Z does become your best friend while using the software, and we'll make it like that. So I did 1/4 inches, and I have that set. And now what I can do is I want to create a box inside. Now, for our purposes, let's make this a specific box. So I'm going to take what's called my tape measure tool. I'm going to grab from the edge, and I'm going to move it to, again, we're going to make it a 1/4 inch wall on the box. So 1/4 inch, and enter. We'll do the same, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. Yep, there we go, 1/4 inch. And again here. Now the reason we make this box like this with the measurement tool here, our tape measure tool, because it allows us to create a template that we can grab onto. All I then do is grab my rectangle tool. I go here, rectangle. I make it to the size of the box. Grab my push-pull. And I want to make it, we'll make it about 3 inches high. So 3 inches high, 3-inch, enter. And we can see, once I rotate again, that I now have a 5x5 by 3-inch box. A perfect box to store a necklace, a tiny item, whatever you want. But the reason we need to know this and how to create these specific measurements, because the eventual goal of this class is to create a fully formed house. Real 1-to-1 scale house with walls, decoration, fittings, all that good stuff that goes into making a house that you wouldn't think about. But to do that, we need to understand these basics. Now, if you have any questions on this video, you can leave those in the comment section below, or if you are watching this live in class, you can always ask me how to help. And hey, you know what? As always, thanks for watching.